Welcome everyone, Costin here with my essential game guide for Starship Troopers Teran Command. I figured after playing Alien's Dark Descent that I would pick up another bug game set in the Starship Troopers movie universe. Now, I want to say that the developers did a fairly good job at being faithful to the movie universe, but the movie universe does suck. The problem with the movie universe in Starship Troopers is that the first movie, if you take it as satire, if you take it as a parody, that is still giving us that coming-of-age story that the Starship Troopers novel is actually about, then it's pretty good as a movie. The problem is that while you don't necessarily have to take things too seriously when you're watching the first movie, and it is actually a very enjoyable movie, the problem with the movie universe is that the other movies, be it the full movies, the Starship Troopers 2 or 3, or the animated ones, they do try and take things seriously, and it ends up being crap overall. There is a remake coming of the Starship Troopers movie universe. Hopefully that will deliver, but I guess we have to see how that will be handled. There's always a lot of discussion when it comes to Starship Troopers, the politics, etc., controversy. It was written as a novel for a political purpose when the US stopped surface testing of nuclear weapons. That's what led to the creation of Starship Troopers. It is a highly influential book, to be very clear, that created power armor, that created mech suits, the mecha. I mean, it is interesting to think about what power armor is and how it is defined, because when we think of power armor, we nowadays think about Warhammer, of course, and the power armor. But Starship Troopers didn't have power armor of that particular nature. I would say, like, when we think about Starship Troopers is more in line with, or the Terran Federation is more in line with what the Imperial Guard is in the Warhammer universe. But it is kind of sad, I guess, to talk about Starship Troopers and the state of that universe and how poorly it's been handled over the years, when, you know, people don't really think about Starship Troopers when it comes to power armor, even though it literally invented the concept, or it made it into what we know it today, and everyone else basically stole from it. Anyway, this is a single player only game. There are 20 missions, one of which is a tutorial mission, so you have the Battle of Klendathu as a very special mission, as a basic tutorial mission, and then you have 19 proper missions. There are 5 difficulty levels, from very easy to brutal difficulty. It is interesting for a developer that basically put in very little effort on difficulty design that they actually have 5 difficulty levels. Now I want to talk about difficulty, because the difficulty you're going to play on is going to change things a lot. On normal difficulty, your guys do normal weapon damage, 1x1 weapon damage. On brutal, they do half that, 75%. On challenging difficulty, on very easy, they do double the damage. From my perspective, I think playing on brutal for the build missions, where you can actually build troops, is really the way to go. For the no build missions, and there's a handful of those, playing on lower difficulty is probably what's recommended. I think no build missions in general in strategy games are just not that great. Same with stealth missions. Thankfully, you don't really have stealth missions in this game. There's one very small stealth section in one particular mission, but mainly that mission is a build mission, and it's more about teaching you, like, for a couple of minutes, some of the things you can do to manipulate the battlefield. And manipulating the battlefield and manipulating the bugs to get slaughtered en masse is what you want to do. This is why I'd recommend playing on brutal, because if you're playing on lower difficulty, you just take your rifleman and annihilate everything in sight with relative ease. Hell, you can annihilate a lot of bugs with just basic troopers, even on brutal, but you do need to think about positioning, you do need to think about strategy. About the achievements, I need to mention this with regards to achievements. I think some of them do leave a lot to be desired, but it never gets into the level of StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, where some achievements were just undoable on brutal difficulty, or very, very difficult to do on brutal difficulty. I can think of quite a few of them. I mean, all of them were probably technically possible, but yeah, doing on brutal is something that required you to have a lot of experience. I only played the campaign once, and I got every achievement on basically my first go, or I reloaded some saves in order to get the achievement and then continue on with the mission. So most achievements are actually, or the vast majority of the achievements are pretty okay. I'll give you an example of an achievement, of some achievements that are pretty good. Like you have the mission 18 Gatekeeper, where you have 2 achievements. One is to simultaneously deploy free combat engineers with experience level 3. So basically you need to get free engineers and keep them alive, which is actually very beneficial for you in this mission, because engineers are going to be a significant powerhouse over here, because they can hold choke points very well and they can build turrets, which makes them very effective. Then the second achievement is to not clear the hive. The benefit of not clearing the hive in this mission is because of the mission design. You get more resources the more enemies you kill in this mission, and the hive basically produces an infinite number of enemies at a certain rate. So keeping the hive alive and containing and leaving some troopers to kill the bugs that are going to spawn from the hive gives you an infinite number of resources, which helps you out in a significant fashion. So overall, the achievements do end up working pretty well. Now, with all that said, I'm going to choose to play through Starport Sweep. Brutal difficulty. The reason I'm choosing this mission is because it contains the quintessential elements of gameplay. You do have several alien hives, with the enemies, with the aliens becoming, or the bugs becoming stronger and stronger. The more hives you eliminate, they get better unit types, but the more hives you eliminate, the better, the more unit types you unlock as well. So this is a great mission. You do have plenty of choices. You do have many ways of playing this mission, and it's actually a lot of fun. And it is really about the core gameplay. Okay, so I've turned off the speech over here, by the way, so I could talk without any kind of interruption. Here's the things you need to know when you are going to play this particular game, when it comes to handling this game. First off, you have your battle tier. The way the battle tier works is you start with tier 1 in a lot of missions, and then you have to build a tier 1 structure, be it the support center or the command center. And once you build it, you'll start gaining points, or the bar will start filling up towards battle tier 2. Once you get to battle tier 2, you need to build a tier 2 structure, like the rocket depot or the ammo dump, in order to get access to tier 2 units, and to start working our way towards tier 3. That is the essence of the game at play over there. That's what you need to know when you're going to be dealing with missions over here in this particular title, when in battle tier. So if you want to unlock higher tier units, you are going to need to get the battle tier up, which is going to force you to get certain structures. This is not the kind of game where you just build the higher tier units and get them freely. No, you have to work for those higher tier units. Now, during the course of the campaign, as you progress through the campaign, units will be unlocked in a natural fashion. So, like, you'll start with your basic Rifleman, and then eventually you'll make your way all the way to the mechs and the power armor. The second thing to worry about when it comes to campaign resource, like the basic gameplay, like shoot bug, kill bug, clear hives, simple stuff. The second thing to worry about, though, are the delivery platforms. Each base has a certain number of delivery platforms. The one I started with has 3 delivery platforms. This represents the structures you can build. Now, base structures cannot be destroyed. The bugs can take over the base by capturing the point over here, the blue circle, but the base itself cannot be destroyed, which I admit is a bit weird when you're considering everything. Now, in this particular mission, we do the objective is to eliminate the super hive here, and it's going to constantly send out attack waves against me. So I need to worry a bit about defense, and I need to worry about clearing the hives to eventually clear out enemies. Like, this mission can last forever. But this is the essence of the game. You need to both defend and attack at the same time. You can't just deploy all of your forces to just simply go on the attack against enemy, and you have to balance it out between attacking and defending. And you also need to take more bases, because bases won't necessarily have all the delivery platforms you're going to need in order to take out the bugs. Then we have supply. Supply represents how many troops you can have. Each unit has a supply cost. Like, it can be 3, it can be 2, it can go all the way to 4 for the big mechs. for instance. I might need to go defend the base, by the way, there, because the turrets that I have there are going to be overwhelmed. I'll explain how those work in just a moment, though. Or maybe they won't be overwhelmed. Maybe they actually will hold firm. But I guess we'll find out. With regards to supply, though, you start with some level of supply in virtually every mission, but you need to then increase it. The way you increase supply is you either capture bases that do have supply. Some bases in certain missions do have it, or a lot of bases in a lot of the campaign missions do give you extra supply, or you find some of these supply caches that are all over the map, and that will increase your total supply. That's how you increase supply. The more supply you have, the more units you can maintain on the battlefield. Then you have war support. You start with a certain level of war support, and what you spend it on. Well, a permanent way to spend war support is to get certain structures for unit recruitment, and that will permanently use up that war support. A temporary way to use war support, like every unit recruitment structure or every structure that unlocks certain units, does have a war support cost. So for instance, if I want to get access to the power armor, I need to get the sector headquarters, which is going to cost 2 war support, and that 2 war support is going to be removed. Now, what is essential to understand about that is that while you will be able to recruit the units from every base you have, you're not limited to just the base. You're not just limited to just the base where you build those structures. And I made a whoopsie there, I think. Okay, let's get that going. If you lose control of the base that has the structure, you won't be able to train those units anymore. Makes sense. To increase war support, there are various objectives. The ammo caches in missions that do have them, this one does not, but ammo caches can be in certain missions that will increase your level of war support. And then doing objectives, main mission objectives, can also increase that as well. That is what you need to know about war support. As for dropships, well, dropships are used to... the number of dropships are the number of craft available to bring units back, to bring units on the battlefield, and also to crucially reinforce those units. So units have a certain number of models for most part. There are single entities, big bugs, for instance, or the mechs that are the exception. But for the most part, okay, just going to bring another unit of engineers. We might have been overwhelmed over here. Okay, that base is cleared out. And I also did increase my supply, so I'm going to bring more units. Okay. But war support is used to either unlock units, as I am going to unlock the rocket troopers over here, or it is used to build turrets, but not just turrets. Power armor troops, the marauders, and the power armor, they also cost a level of war support. And the available war support, the one that you haven't spent on structures, is shown over here. The way the dropships works, by the way, just to finish that thought, is the vast majority of units do have multiple models. So engineers have 3, rifle troopers have a decent amount of them, all that. And you can go to like a dropship landing pad and replenish the troops. Replenish the models that the unit may have lost. And you will want to do so because units gain experience. But keep in mind that the same resource is also used to get more troops on the battlefield, to recruit them in the first place. And you don't spend resources to bring troops in the battle. Like, once you unlock them, if you can recruit them, you can recruit them. There's no cost associated with that. But you may be limited in terms of time because of the dropship cooldown. Now, this will replenish ever so slowly during the course of a mission. So eventually you will recover. Recover it, but you need to be careful about like how you replenish troops. Like, obviously, ideally, you'd let units go down to like a very low level of models, and then you replenish. As long as you keep even a single model of a unit alive, you will be able. You will keep the unit experience on individual units. Now, why is experience important? Well, every unit has one ability they start, with the exception of the mechs, but they're mechs, they're super powerful. But every unit starts with a basic ability. Like, for instance, the engineers have a grenade, an incendiary grenade, the riflemen have a regular grenade, all that kind of good stuff. As units get to tier 3, once they rank up to tier 3, they unlock a second ability. Now, when you use an ability, puts both of them on cooldown. So getting tier 3 troops, while it's obviously a significant power, it doesn't mean you have two abilities that you can use at the same time. You're going to have to choose which ability you're going to use and when. And you also have to choose between multiple abilities during the course of a particular mission. Now, I'm tempted to just get rid of the turrets here and just build them up here. There's a logic behind that, because the super hive is over here. That's where the enemies are spawning. That's where I'm advancing as well. So there are some enemies that are spawning from hives over here, but I think one turret should be able to stop them. It's very easy to defend in this game, but what's not so easy is to advance and defend at the same time. That's obviously going to require some effort on your part. Now, when it comes to the abilities you want to go for, well, I would recommend just reading the tooltips and figuring out what you need in a particular situation. It depends on unit by unit, for instance. Like, your riflemen can either get a bundle of grenades, so they're basically throwing a lot of these grenades at the same time, but they need to get pretty close to the enemy to use it, and they're actually going to be in the initial AoE. So if you have a very crowded fight, you're gonna want to be careful with that. The shotgun suppression, however, is actually far more useful most of the time. Depends on what you're dealing with, and depends on the mission design, the terrain design, the enemy types. Like, for instance, over here, what I'm dealing with right now are just a bunch of very lightly armored enemies for the most part. There are some more heavily armored enemies that I am starting to deal with, the tiger bugs, which are just your basic warriors, but upgraded, far heavier armor, far more difficult to take down. I'm just going to get rid of that and build some more over there, and get some replenishment, field replenishment. Normally you can only replenish from a base, but a radio operator and some other units give you the ability of replenishing in the field. Now, before I talk about the individual unit types and which ones you should worry about and which structures you should get, like, war support is limited, and you need to get one structure, but only one structure from one tier to be able to advance to the next tier. That means until you get to tier 4, where you only get, like, at tier 4 you only get the choice of Marauders, at tier 5 you only get the choice of Power Troopers. What that means is that you're gonna want to make a choice. You don't want to unlock everything. This is the important thing, because while you can obviously unlock things, you're going to use the war support. And keep in mind, whenever you build a structure, you're reducing the number of turrets or the number of power armor troops or the number of mechs you can have in any particular mission. Now over here I have increased the number the war support I have by eliminating quite a few hives, and we are going to just advance against another one, and I am at tier 3. what do I want to get at tier 3? Well, let's talk about the essentials of gameplay and how that works to understand what you want to be focused on in terms of like unit types. So you have your regular guns. That's easy enough to understand. You've got your basic trooper are your rifle troopers. They have an assault rifle, but what's crucial, they also have an underslug shotgun. Now, why is that important, you might ask? Well, if you watch the movie, one of the things that Rico does in the movie is that he uses that shotgun to kill bugs at point blank range, or to hold them off. Now, the holding off aspect is going to be important, because bugs will close the gap. That is unavoidable. Like, especially on this kind of difficulty, the bugs will get in melee. But just because they got in melee doesn't mean they're gonna kill anything there. Because what you can do, and this is where it is essential to understand the game and the unit types, you can suppress the enemy. You can basically stun lock a lot of the enemy types, or if all of the enemies. Now, the bugs can do the same to you as well. Like, if you're attacked in melee, your units are going to slow down in a fairly substantial fashion. All that kind of good stuff. But you can suppress the bugs. Now, your basic rifle troopers that you can recruit without any structure can do it. Well, like, when a bug engages in melee, what happens is, like, there is a chance that one of the bugs can attack, but they also have that shotgun. Your basic rifle troopers do have access to that shotgun. What that shotgun does is it allows them to suppress them. So that means that when they're trying to attack, they just won't get those attacks off, or they'll struggle to get those attacks off. Shotgun suppression, which is a tier 3 ability, just means your troopers are switching to shotguns for full-time usage for just a certain period of time. Those turrets are going to be in trouble, aren't they? I might need to send an engineer there to defend the base. Alright, let's send those guys to build another turret. And we want to get our guys over here, down here. So what is important to understand is that when you're engaged by them, like, obviously killing the enemy from range is the ideal option, but that's not really going to be an option many times.
What do you need? Yes, sir. Now we're cooking with gas. Engineers, now hear this.
Simply because there's going to be
Awaiting orders. Let's go.
a lot of bugs for you to deal with, and you will be overwhelmed. And there are some fairly durable bugs as well. By the way, I might lose this mission over here if I'm not careful.
Sir, affirmative. Engineers reporting.
But I might be able to snatch a win from the jaws of defeat, so to speak. So the key to victory is to suppress your enemies. To suppress the bugs. Now, your rifle troopers can do this against one enemy. Your combat engineers who have a flamethrower, which also does the same thing, it suppresses the enemy, can do it against one enemy at a time. And that's something that is important to figure out, to understand when you're dealing with things over here in the game. Did they fail? They did. I may have failed. Game? Oh, this is gonna get nasty. And going back to the point I was making, suppressing the enemy is the essential key to victory, if you will. If you can't suppress the enemy, and some units are better at this than others, like the regular Rifle Troopers are very, very effective at that. The Flamethrowers, very effective at that. Turrets, very effective on that aspect. So you need troops to be able to keep the enemy. Oh gosh, that's going to be an awful situation. That's not going to work so well, is it? I need to recapture the base. Yeah, all this talking kind of distracted me. What can I say? And I did accomplish a lot, but I also lost my base. Is a bit of an unfortunate development. What can I say?
Rockets, we're moving up. Affirmative.
Engineers here.
Infantry, blast them.
Oh, geez, tankers. That's a tanker there. That's a big, massive, heavily armored bug that is not going to go down so easily. Right, just going to rebuild my defenses. There is a lot of back and forth in this game. That's one thing to understand. This is not the kind of game where you just build a mega army and you advance and kill everything in sight and you never suffer a drawback. No, you're going to lose, guys. You're going to lose entire forces, but you can easily recover. Because what are you losing? All you're losing is your experienced troops. Now, that experience is important, but you got to figure out, you got to understand, why aren't you killing that bug? That was annoying. You got to understand the back and forth nature, because you need to clear the hives. Attacking a hive, however, is a serious commitment. And while you're attacking a hive, of course, you are vulnerable to attacks. Like in this case, especially because obviously there's that infinite number of troops that are constantly heading my way. That is the main goal of the vast majority of missions. Like, take a force, build up troops, get access to higher tier troops, and contend with the enemies to clear their hives. Now, clearing hive, as I've done already with several of them, what does that require? What does that involve, especially? Well, clearing a hive means going up against the bugs that are guarding it, because each hive will spawn attack waves against you. But each hive, I'm going to leave some rocket troopers to defend the base. I think that's probably going to be a good way of using them. But each hive does have a defensive formation as well, mainly through the bug tunnels that are near it. Now, to attack a hive, basically you need to eliminate that defensive force, and then you'll be able to send in troops in the hive. Like you saw there that the hive strength was at a certain level, and as I eliminated more and more and more troops, it went down. Now over here, I need to advance. I am at tier 4. So that is the essential element to figure out. Like, how do you assault hives? Well, you need the force that is capable of dealing with enemies. Like over here, I started with very basic unarmored bugs that were fairly easy to take down, which is my, or reasonably easy to take down, which is my basic, like, let's get rid of that, we're gonna need that, which is my basic rifleman. But now we're moving on to more heavily armored bugs, we're getting tankers, we're getting scorpion bugs. Things are not gonna stay so easy. And we got more and more attack waves incoming. But you just need a massive force, and you need to advance against the enemy, kill as many of them as possible. Like, you might have things like brood nests, which do spawn like a swarm of drones until you eliminate the brood nest. So you have a lot of enemies to deal with. One important thing to understand, beyond like the fact that the bugs will likely close the gap, and the reason they'll close the gap in a lot of time, in a lot of missions, like, your troops can't fire from behind another. Like, if I move these riflemen here, and you can see it based on like this, like that red circle, they won't be able to fire. Snipers can, but I think like snipers can, but they're basically the exception, not the rule. Mechs also can fire for units, but that's because they have a height advantage. Like obviously, if you're at a higher height, like if you've got a height advantage, like if I move a rifleman, a troop over here, then and just move them in this position and put some pulse troopers over here, the riflemen over here will be able to shoot. This is all about forming a gun line against the enemy and using that gun line to eliminate the enemy and picking fights in a very smart way. Like for the most part, like this is brutal difficulty, and I've like cleared up while talking, which if you ever try doing a video like this is real time, you'll figure out very quickly how much effort it does require to actually talk and record a video like this. And no, I'm not necessarily too fond of post commentary, because I think there is value to something like this. Now, let me talk about the unit types. Like how you approach a mission depends on the terrain, etc. But the essential thing is like you want to have an army that's capable of killing the enemies, even if it's like close range over here, killing the enemies, overwhelming them, like you're overwhelming them with firepower. That is your goal. I think I'm going to get rid of these guys. Oh god. That is not good. Let's get a flamethrower. Let's hold the base. Hold the line, troopers. Hello, Mr. Bug. Say hello to the Marauder mech, the super powerful unit. That just kind of became pointless because it can't capture a point and the bugs captured the base. That is a bit of a shame, but hey. No one's perfect. Like, yeah, if there's any particular downside about the Marauders, it's, yeah, they can capture locations. So now I'm in a rough situation over here, actually, because I might lose this base, which I fought so hard to achieve success over. I don't want to lose my radio operator. That would obviously be a pretty disastrous outcome. Okay, let's get these guys over here. Now, by the way, supply depots are tied to a particular base. So supply depots are tied to a base that they might increase over time. Like over here, it's increased because I got some supply caches. But losing that base means, yeah, I kind of just lost all that supply that I had built up. Which, as you might imagine, is not a great situation to have, because it means I'm very... That's not great. The big one is coming. The big one is coming. Scorpions are the nightmare in this game. You want to ask me what enemy is hard to deal with? Yeah, scorpions take the cake, especially on brutal. But let's even the odds. Let's get a howitzer mech. I'm going to disband this unit of riflemen. Now you can't just go balls to the wall with mechs. Mechs are powerful, very powerful in point of fact. But one, they generally need some engineers to support them. Or specifically to repair them, because they can't replenish otherwise. And they're also quite vulnerable to things like, for instance, things like the scorpions. Actually, I think scorpions and royal guards are the only things that can genuinely cause a problem for them. I wonder. I think actually I'll just leave one turret over here because I think like the bugs are going to attack this particular base, so I'm just going to build my base defenses over here. I do need more supply to be able to advance successfully. There is a supply cache over there. I'm really not in position to afford 2 Marauders. Like, in this game, you are not going to reach a point like, oh, you're just going to get the super powerful troops. No, you can't just get the super powerful troops, because Marauders require you to have a level of war support. So it's 2 war support per Marauder. So at most, I can maintain, what, 3 Marauders in this mission? At this particular point. Obviously, I can increase it. I might have had more if I hadn't gotten maybe certain... no, I wouldn't have had more because I needed to get those structures.
Engineers, now hear this.
Okay.
Come on, people. Move out.
Executing orders. Target. Squad ready, sir. Sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, affirmative.
So, let me talk about unit types, because there's a whole bunch of unit types, and not all of them are necessarily worth it. Well, all of them are worth it, but you gotta remember, you have a choice to make it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. At tier 4, yeah, you only unlock Marauders. At tier 5, you only unlock power armor. But every other tier, you do have choices to make. Which units do I think are worth it? Well, your basic Rifleman, very solid, mainly because they're pretty good actually at suppressing enemies that they do encounter. So that's one of the things that actually makes them pretty effective in a fight against quite a lot of enemies. Eventually, though, your basic Rifleman, which you can recruit from any base, from the very start, you don't need to get any structures, you don't need to have any structures. Eventually, your basic Rifleman, though, ooh, that's not good. You know how in Starship Troopers Marauder, Rico literally allows his guys to get surrounded? Yeah, don't do that here. Like, he allows those Marauders that he has to get surrounded. Yeah, don't do that here. It's a surefire way
Squad ready, sir. Roger that.
of getting them killed. Oh dear. Oh shit, this is bad.
Engineers, now hear this.
We're gonna need to fall back.
Sir, affirmative.
Now, they are pretty durable, guys, don't get me wrong on that, but they can't just take everything the enemy can throw against them with no issues. Well, not in this difficulty.
What do you need? Sir, yes, sir.
So there are obviously limitations. We're gonna have to work with those limitations. But to get back to my point, in terms of the units you want to recruit, you don't want your basic Rifleman. And the other tier 1 structure that I would strongly recommend you pick up is the support center that gives you combat engineers and radio operators. Radio operators give you the ability of recruiting units on the field, which is something that I've made great use of, even though I literally lost my base. I was not concerned about losing the base because I knew I had that radio operator. Now, obviously, I could always lose that radio operator that I have in the field, but it is always good to have them. They're also to supply. Like, your basic Riflemen are free. Combat engineers and radio operators are 2 each, so you can have more of them. Like, generally speaking, rifles are obviously going to be better than combat engineers, but there is something to be said about quality and quantity, which is certainly something that engineers can offer. Crucially, engineers can build turrets. Now, types of turrets they can build depend on your structure. So if you want a grenade launcher turret, you're gonna need to be able to get the ammo dump, I believe it is, in order to be able to build them. If you want to build the rocket turrets, which are effective against armor bugs, like those scorpions and tankers that I just dealt with over there, you are going to need oh dear, that's not good. That is not good at all. Or up shit creek.
Squad ready, sir. Engineers, now
Okay,
hear this.
so at tier 1, I strongly recommend that as opposed to tactical officers and snipers. And yes, consider it as a choice. Don't think like, oh, I can, I can get them all the same. You can, but believe me when I say this. In this game, higher tier units are generally better than lower tier units. So if you decide to get snipers and tactical officers, one, you're choosing to have less turrets, or likely you're choosing to get less higher tier units when you can unlock them. Now, during the course of a campaign, obviously that choice is simplified because either you'll get the structures for free or you will have limitations on the units you can recruit, so you can't obviously get them. But in a mission like this, and certainly this mission is fairly unique in this respect because obviously I started with nothing, which is not something you do in like the later campaign missions where you do get to. Oh dear, that's a lot. Will you just stop coming? That is so annoying.
What do you need? Sir, come on, people.
Roger that.
Sir,
Alright, let's move ahead. Build more turrets.
Yes, sir. Sir. Affirmative.
Now this is kind of brutal, to be sure. Well, it is brutal difficulty. Let's do a bombardment of both of them. So at tier 1, strongly recommend combat engineers and radio operators as opposed to snipers and tactical officers. At tier 2, you have a choice between rocket troopers and Mark II troopers. Usually, rocket troopers are the better choice compared to
sir. Sir, roger that. What do you need?
they're the better choice compared to
Sir. Firing.
compared to Mark II troopers. What are Mark II troopers? Well, basically they're your regular rifle troopers with the different assault rifle. The basic assault rifle has an underslug shotgun. The Mark II assault rifle has, oh jeez,
Squad ready. Yes, sir.
Firing. Yes, sir. Firing.
Sir,
pull back.
Sir, move up. Affirmative.
engineer, we're cooking with gas.
Sir.
Oh, it's because I'm
Sir,
okay. I'm gonna need to fall back.
squad ready. Roger that. Sir, affirmative. Squad ready.
Oh, I may have lost this mission because I'm getting overwhelmed.
Squad ready. Roger that.
I lost my initial base, so because of that, I am very limited in the amount of troops I can have.
Sir,
Well, if it let me first reclaim this, get some combat engineers. Oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to do that.
sir.
Well, I can always get some fast movers.
Sir, come on, you apes. Come on, you apes.
Mark II troopers have a grenade launcher. Now, it is more useful. Like, rifle troopers are good against lightly armored targets, especially at short range. The Mark II troopers, they're better.
Troopers standing by.
They're generally speaking better at medium range, and they also have those lovely grenades that they have access to.
Sir,
Now, fun fact: you can't actually build structures in another base. Like, for instance, I unlocked the engineers, but I obviously lost the base
look alive, troopers.
from which those engineers can be produced. So I can't get them right now. So I need to recapture that main base. Truthfully, you could consider, oh, you already lost this mission. And to a certain degree, yeah, kind of. Except not really, because, like, I got mechs, so no. That's not how that works. Okay, it missed with the howitzer. Sad. Okay, let's get some rocket troopers as well. Now, the difference between rocket troopers are really good, are far better than most other units, with really the exception of the howitzer marauders. Rocket troopers are your go-to unit against heavily armored targets, and it's those heavily armored targets like tigers or the scorpions. Yes, the lovely scorpions that are actually going to cause the majority of the problems you're going to encounter in any particular mission.
Alive, troopers, sir. Come on.
Rockets, we're up.
Sir. Engineers reporting.
Over here, I might have to decide whether or not I want to keep this base or just abandon it to be able to clear that hive. Because if I try,
Troopers standing by.
or actually, I just will disband these guys and get myself a radio operator. There we go.
Rockets, we're
Maybe disband these guys as well and get myself another mech. That'll do.
Squad ready, sir. Engineers reporting.
I'll probably leave some turrets
Sir.
and some guys behind. So rocket troopers at tier 2, the better choice compared to the Mark II troopers. The Mark II troopers do have value, but they kind of stop being valuable once you get to tier 3 and you get access to the tier 3 units, which, well, let me put it plainly. Would you rather have your basic assault trooper with the only major difference being that that they have an underslot grenade launcher, but in virtually every way. Like, they do have different abilities because of the gun they're using, sure.
Tell us what to do.
But by and large, they are the same unit.
Squad ready. Affirmative. Chop those bugs up. Sir.
Alright, let's get those repairs. I'm kind of curious if I can keep that base. So at tier 3 as rocket troopers versus Mark II, or sorry, at tier 2, yeah, rocket troopers as opposed to Mark II troopers. At tier 3, your choice is between Epulse Troopers and Fleet Liaison. Fleet Liaison is a support unit. It can be useful because it gives you access to airstrikes and all that good stuff, but Epulse Troopers are generally far superior. The thing about Epulse Troopers, they're using an electric gun. Now, that gun that they have is shorter range, so they're far shorter range than the Mark IIs or the Mark Is, which are your basic rifle troopers. But importantly to note, oh dear, that's going to be overwhelmed.
Squad ready. Roger that. Move up. Sir. Yes, sir. Squad ready. Roger that. Affirmative. Tell us what to do. Yes, sir.
We're going to repair that mech.
Sir, move up.
It is a game of carefully advancing against your foes, bringing to bear overwhelming firepower and annihilating them. Now, it is a bit of a mistake on my part to go so heavily on the Marauders, because obviously I'm using a lot of war support for this, but the firepower of the Marauders certainly is there. You do have different versions of it. Then at tier 4 you do have the 3 different versions of Marauder. So you got the flamethrower, you get the Gatling gun, and you get the howitzer. They have the same ability choice. Like they don't have an ability at when you just recruit them. But at tier 3, once they get to tier 3, once they get the elite status, you can either get a bombardment cannon, an artillery ability, or you can give them you can give them an AoE bomb around them. Now that AoE bomb might sound very useful, but to be quite honest with you, it is a trap, because it will also kill your own infantry. And guess what? Your infantry, you want to kind of keep it close, close to these guys for pretty clear, obvious reasons. Fun thing about Epulse Troopers. So, Epulse Troopers, you can cause a bright flash to stun everything in an area, or you can remove sight reduction effects to basically see enemies that you wouldn't otherwise be able to. You wouldn't otherwise be able to. Now, the one issue I have right here, by the way, is like, this is an issue, this is probably you're going to encounter quite a bit more often than you would might like. What I need there is, by the way, just going to... What I need to do is get down there. That's a lot trickier. Just going down the ramp there is going to be a lot trickier than you might think. Because there's a spawn point over here. There's a lot of bugs that I haven't dealt with, but I do need that supply cache.
Squad ready, sir.
Sir, yes, sir. Ready for orders.
Sir. Tell us what to do.
Moving out.
Squad ready. Roger that. Trap those
I
bugs.
have HQ, sir.
Engineers reporting. Sir.
Epulse Troopers can also overcharge their rifles. What that does is it creates a situation where after a while they'll just be unable. Oh dear, that's not good. Get another one. I might lose everything here.
Engineers reporting. Tell us what to do.
Or maybe not, but certainly will feel like that.
Engineers reporting.
I have HQ, sir. Sir.
Gonna send another howitzer.
Sir. Tell us what to do. Roger that. Engineers reporting. Engineers, tell us what to do.
Marauder, online.
My goal is to get there.
Engineers reporting. Tell us what to do.
Need something perforated?
Now, fun fact about clearing hives. Any formation can do it, with the exception of like those that have less than 3 troopers. Now, fun fact over there, I used an ability that the game literally tells you it will attract the enemy. But attracting enemy attention like that is not, strictly speaking, a downside.
Engineers reporting. Sir, yes, sir. Engineers reporting.
Marauder, online.
Tell us what to do. Stash your tools and move affirmative. Engineers reporting. Tell us what to do. Engineers reporting. Tell us what to do. Sir.
Yeah, things are pretty nasty over there. I love those Marauders, but right now I am certainly paying the price for going so heavily on them. Although, we can certainly turn the tide. I could get rid of one of those Marauders and start getting power armor. Maybe it is time to go down that path.
Tell us what to do. Sir, stash your tools. Engineers reporting. Sir, stash your tools and
I have HQ, sir.
Alright, unleash the artillery strike.
Tell us what to do. Engineers reporting. Tell us what to do. Burn them!
Get more mechs. Alright, we're gonna need to fall back here.
Engineers
Affirmative,
report.
sir. Affirmative.
Tell us what to do. Sir, roger that.
Assuming we don't lose both of them.
On my way.
Now, with respect to power armor, which I'll get to in just a moment, assuming I can actually recruit it. Power armor is your ultimate I win button that you get at your
What do you need? Come on, people. Engineers, now hear this.
Where's the fight? Moving out. You're looking for the aid.
at tier 5. They're much faster than any other unit you have. They have more firepower than any other unit you have. They have more durability than any other unit you have. Okay, with the exception of the obvious mix, which also technically are power armor as well. But they can take a hit. Or multiple, or 10 hits.
Engineers, now roger that. Yes, sir.
Live and electrified, sir.
Move out. Watch your lock and load.
Sir.
Where's the fight?
And they can also run out of fights that other units just can't. Because even when the bugs do suppress them, and the bugs can still suppress them, remember that. Because it is important. But even when the bugs suppress them, they can still run faster than most other units in your roster. No. Than most other units that you have as part of your roster.
Where's the fight?
Now, the way the power armored units work, so you need to get tier 3, they're only available on mission 17. Is a shame, because it would be fun to play with these guys more than we do in the campaign.
Watch your spacing. Lock and load.
Affirmative. Sir. Squad. Look alive, squad.
Where's the fight?
What do you need? Affirmative.
Because they are just quite powerful. What's even crazier about the power armor troops is that at tier 1, their basic weapon is a machine gun. Not an assault rifle, no. We go into the realm of machine gun from the very start with that. Pull back over here. Okay, let's pull these guys back.
Affirmative. Squad.
Actually, I'm gonna get the power armor guys to go get that point because they can move the... Ah, shit.
Look alive. Yes, sir. Sir.
Fall back, fall back.
Let's move out. Watch your spacing. Moving out.
Roger that.
You're looking for the and load. Where's the fight? Watch your spacing. Let's lock and load. Where's the
And, okay, there we go.
Comms here. Yes, sir.
Look roger that. Squad, open fire.
Like, once you get power armor, that may be the only thing you want to get at that stage. Because they will handle most things pretty damn effectively, I might add. Even with their machine gun, they can handle scorpions. Not in the best possible way. But once you get to tier 3, if I actually do manage to keep some power armor units alive over here to get to tier 3, I'll demonstrate this. Oh, that's not good. But once they do get to tier 3,
Ready to go. You looking for the A squad?
Where's the fight?
Ready to go. You looking for the A? Where's the fight?
I'm doing my part.
Moving out.
everyone's doing their part.
Locking. Watch them out. Let's get on the bounce. Ready to go.
You're
once they get to tier 3, you can give them a rocket launcher. So they become this weird combination of rifle troopers, which are better than any rifle trooper you can get. They become this weird combination of rifle troopers and rocket launchers. And they end up being able to annihilate things like scorpions. And other bugs as well. Like, their basic machine gun is pretty decent against armor, but it's obviously not the best weapon in the game for that particular purpose. But now, we're gonna turn the tide. Why are you running like that, you idiot? That's annoying. Ooh, shit. And they still, and most of them, and it's only like a handful of models that actually get the rocket launcher. Most of them, well, not.
Sir. Yes, sir. Roger that.
Oh shit. Your other choices are to give them an SMG, or not an SMG. But a saw, which just makes them better against light targets, which are really the problem. That you're gonna be confronting over here. Pull back. Thank you very much. But you can see the power difference between having power armor troops over here on this part of the battlefield and not having them, as was the case earlier. So I got the elite status on another one. So you get the choice between the saw, the rocket launcher, and the engineering tools. The engineering tools allow you to build turrets, so keeping in mind that power armored units do require you to use that precious war support. And also the engineering troops lose the grenade that they have. Well, that's a lot of scorpions. Why? Wait, why? Oh gosh. Seriously? That's silly. Okay, they got overwhelmed. My base got overwhelmed. But the combination of radio operators with any units, really, just having that radio operator really makes you feel like you're playing the proper mobile infantry. Until you lose the radio operator because reasons. But yeah, the power armor guys are fairly indestructible. They're quite capable of punching way above their weight and taking out hordes of bugs. Alright, let's go get that hive. They should be able to eliminate it. It is over. Hive eliminated. The nightmare is finally over. Now I need to go reclaim my base.
Ready to go. Lock and load. Move out. Ready to go. Move out.
But that should be easy enough.
Sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Move out. Move out.
With what I have. There are scorpions there.
Lock and load. Where's the I'm doing my part. On the route.
So you start from a very static army where it's like just you can't shoot while moving. You still can shoot while moving with the rocket troopers. The only unit you have that can shoot while moving is the mechs themselves. But you end up going from that to this, where you're just running and gunning with a vast array of firepower that the bugs don't really have a good answer to. Starship Troopers.
Looking for the A squad. Ready to go. Watch us.
And these guys will traverse the map far better and far faster than anything else you might have access to otherwise.
You looking for the A squad?
Sir. Squad, follow me.
Ready to go. Where's the I'm doing my part. Let's get some bugs.
Over here, I might even get the mech for base defense. I'll leave them together with some Epulse Troopers. Or there's no or.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Get into position.
Where's the fight? Lock and load.
Need something.
So leave the mech behind, the big bulky mech to defend over here.
Let's get some bugs. You looking for the A squad?
And since I've already done enough of this mission, might as well complete it at this point.
Watch your spacing.
And it does pay off to be methodical in this game. That's what I would argue is actually pretty important. Being thorough, understanding that the enemy does have infinite numbers, and you do need to eliminate their spawn points. Well, you also have infinite numbers, so it's not like it's one-sided in that respect. Because it is not.
Sir. Reading you. 5 by 5. Yes, sir.
You looking for the doing my part. Lock and load. I'm doing my part. Lock
Oh,
and
that's
load.
not good.
Ready to go. Let's get some bugs. Watch them out.
That is not good at all.
Ready to go.
See, the problem here,
I'm doing my part. Watch your space. Fire at will. You looking for the There's the lock and load. Ready to go. You looking for the I'm doing my part. Moving out. Where's the fight? Watch them out. Where's the fight?
is that I want to clear all of the hives. But, like, you don't need to, I guess. I could abandon everyone else and just YOLO it.
Move out. Watch your moving out.
Reading you. Affirmative.
Let's get some bugs. Ready to go. Lock and load.
Look alive.
On my way. Weapons free.
Gotta love the bug's ability. Yeah, the bugs can climb walls. Kind of an important point to make.
Hydraulics engaged. On my way.
Sir.
Now, I'm not interested necessarily in clearing the hive here. I'm just gonna pass through the main objective of this entire map because, well, that's the thing about power armor. They will tear them to shreds. It's not like we just have power armor.
On my way.
Sir.
Wait, really? Okay. Apparently, we eliminated the super hive.
Hydraulics engaged. On my way.
Look alive. Squad, follow me.
So I'm guessing that mission was designed around the idea that you would eliminate the super hive at various points
Affirmative. Opening fire.
Need something.
Roger that.
to give yourself some breathing space to expand. I guess I have been doing this mission the absolutely hardest way possible so far.
555.
Hydraulics engaged. Need something. On my way.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Ready to fire.
Look alive. Squad, open fire.
Sir.
Sir. Roger that.
Now, I do notice when playing the game that there is something of a performance impact the more you spend in a mission. Probably just the calculations and how they're done in terms of spawning the infinite number of bugs. Also might just be the... No, the bodies do disappear after a while.
Hydraulics engaged. On my way. Hydraulics engaged.
Okay, going to get some bombardment ability there, and I want that supply cache. Running and gunning, like they can't shoot their machine gun while standing, while moving, but they can shoot their rocket launcher. That's a bit silly, I gotta tell you, but hey, I'm not gonna complain about the mobile rocket launcher, that's for damn certain. Oh, there's bugs there.
Look alive, squad. Squad,
Sir.
follow me.
Rocket team, on me.
You're looking for the heat squad? Where's the fight? Let's get some fun. Watch your face. Move out. Moving out.
Alright, they've repopulated it.
Need something perforated?
Ready to go.
We're on my way.
Now, the advantage of the engineer power armor, they can repair your mechs. That's probably the main reason you should get them. Not turrets at this point, it's better to just get the mobile. The true mobile infantry. Oh shit. Like at this point, I don't even care about the mechs anymore. That hive is clear.
Lock and load. Moving out. Lock and load. Ready to go.
Where's the fight? Let's get some
Roger that.
fun.
And another hive gets taken out.
Roger that. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Well, that's gonna be a bit of a problem.
Yes, sir.
I think I need to eliminate the main hive at this point.
Sir.
Rocket troopers, rocket team up.
Roger that. Affirmative.
Sir.
I'm doing my part. Watch your spaces. Move out. Where's the fight? Target. Let's get some fun. Ready to go. Spaces.
Because the last one is behind there. So you go from regular rifle troopers, like look at this mission, I've gone from assault rifle troopers
Sir.
into Epulse Troopers and then into mechs.
Looking for the heat spaces.
Let's get some bugs. Moving out.
Let's get on the bounce.
Then now I'm just running on full on with Space Marines.
Moving out.
Look alive, squad.
Watch your spaces. Ready to go. Where's the fight?
Follow me. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Let's get some fun. Ready to go. Move out. You're looking for the heat. I'm doing my part. Let's get some fun. Move out.
Just running and gunning.
Lock and load.
Ready to go.
Reading you.
You're looking for the heat. Move out. Moving out. Where's the fight? Looking for the heat. On the bounce.
And just replenishing in the field.
You're looking for the heat squad? Ready to go. Moving out.
For going out. The game does use the grid system. So everything is Q, A, W, S, all that. Now, what is a bit sad is that the game doesn't really have a graphics menu that you can change. Like, all you have, like, in the graphics is, like, graphical quality, like, nothing... And nothing you can change specifically, by the way.
Reading you.
1 minute. Now, another things what you can do when it comes to taking out hives is, if you've got the situation like this, you can select multiple troopers and just send them in together. And you just need to have your army strength to be higher than the hive strength. Keep in mind that, dependent on the timing of this may fail. You gotta pay attention to the bar, the progress of that particular bar. Though they can also weaken the hive. Like in this case, that's the last hive, mission complete. Where's that last dropship?
Where's the fight? Lock and load.
There we go. All the dropships, all objectives complete. Victory for the Mobile Infantry. And that is all to know. It may not have been the best guide, but it can be pretty intense about forming like those firing lines, trying to defend and advance at the same time, especially against an infinite horde of enemies. Most missions are like this, and what made this mission particularly harder compared to others is like the enemy starts with spitterbug. So most missions, or a lot of missions, the enemy won't have such a swarm of range units from the very start of it. They may eventually gain it, like there's always some dynamic with missions, but they may eventually gain it, but they likely won't start with it. As a comparison, this mission was probably as difficult as the final mission of the campaign, but since I had every tool at my disposal, it was a pretty fun experience. Anyway, Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications. Stay tuned for more. Special thanks to Alain, to all my patrons, to all of you who make it possible.